It's such an honor to be able to share the stage with so many inspiring young people. The Rotary District we're a part of is filled with so much talent. So tonight, to end our evening, I'm going to talk to you about conflict, but more specifically, interpersonal conflict. Did you know that one of the #1 reasons a Rotarian leaves a Rotary Club is because of interpersonal conflict? With an organization that has members from different backgrounds, religions, countries, generations, and political beliefs, how can we unite under all these differences, and Rotary Clubs aside, in a world that is more global every day and that seems more divided than it's ever been? How can we move beyond these barriers? First off, I want to change the way we look at conflict. Where there are human beings, there will be conflict. And to pretend that there isn't actually escalates the problem. But instead of seeing conflict as something to resolve or a problem to avoid, I want us to reframe conflict as an opportunity and something that is inevitable. Conflict isn't you versus the other person, but instead, both of you on the same team and the conflict on the other side. This is a fundamental shift that allows you to move from conflict resolution to conflict transformation. All conflict in this mindset is a team-building activity and an opportunity for you to grow closer together. Conflict transformation, in contrast to conflict resolution, does not seek only to resolve the contradiction, but to address the environmental and structural problems that cause the conflict in the first place, while also restoring human relations. It is most importantly a mindset shift and gives us the chance to not only profess our values, but to practice them. Conflict transformation needs 3 things. It needs to be comprehensive, compassionate, and creative. It allows you to come up with a solution that is win-win for everyone involved. This quote by Alia really encompasses this idea. I see all conflict as a misunderstanding. The conflict process is, there's something you believe right now that's a misunderstanding about me. If we talk this through, we'll understand each other better. Usually the misunderstanding is always the same. I don't feel loved or respected or seen or understood right now. Now I know this sounds really nice and lovely, and I want to acknowledge it's a lot easier said than done. Conflict isn't enjoyable, and we often avoid it at all costs. But why is that? So humans are social beings, and we've evolved biologically to be social beings. Being left out feels so terrible, and our bodies treat it as if it's life or death, because it certainly used to be. We naturally become defensive, and as meaning-making machines, we create stories about everything. In life, as we heard from Jordan, we have very little control over other people, and the only thing we really have control over is ourselves, our thoughts, reactions, and actions. I want to give you tools to help you transform conflict in your life by focusing on what you have control over, yourself. So we start by getting really clear about what is actually happening. As meaning-making machines, something can happen and we will create a whole lot of story about it. If your friend was late, it's because they don't respect you. If your romantic partner didn't text you good night, it's because they're no longer in love with you. You checked your phone. It's because you think I'm a terrible speaker. Now what's particularly insidious about this habit is that we actually use our confirmation bias to reinforce our stories until they become the truth for us. Confirmation bias is an unconscious tendency we have to analyze and pay attention to the information that confirms what we already believe. So this exercise is one that you might have done before, but humor me anyways in case you have. So, up on the screen in this picture, can you count for me and tell me how many items are blue? So how many did we count? Okay. Well, how many of those items were red? It's easy to miss things we aren't paying attention to. This is also why, after thinking about a yellow car, you start to see yellow cars everywhere. So how does this work with people? I'll use a personal example. My parents were really proud of me for my academic achievements when I was a child. I turned that into a story that my parents only loved me when I was achieving. I paid attention to their reaction every time I would bring home an achievement and completely missed any other time and any other way they showed me love. So what happened? My parents said they were proud of my accomplishment. What was the story I made about it? My parents will only love me if I'm a high achiever. I lived so much of my life in fear of conditional love from my parents that I missed every time they stayed up late at night while I was sick, all the band performances they endured, and the many midnight Harry Potter book releases they waited in line with me. So let me give you another example. As you can kind of see, yeah. So what happened? I didn't get a job I really wanted. The story I created was that I was rejected. I'm a terrible interviewee. I'm not good at what I do, and frankly, I'm just not good enough. I then carried that story into the next job interview I had, almost guaranteeing the outcome. I created a whole new reality that I lived in, when in actuality, that original job had an internal candidate who wanted the position, and that's why I didn't get it. My story wasn't even close. So how do we combat this? An easy fix is to share your stories with other people so you can quickly get out of them. The story I'm making up in my head is, you didn't come to my party because you don't really want to be friends anymore. The story I'm making up in my head is, you removed me from the agenda because you don't believe in my project. This phrase is a tool that will show you how imaginative and catastrophic our minds can really be. So I have some other really great tools to use in conflict conversations. So, 1, how did I contribute to create the problem? And what can I do to solve and heal that? How can I make this vulnerability feel safer for you right now? What can we agree on in this situation? The story I'm making up is, and help me understand. I always also end all my conflict conversations with a gratitude exercise. Because the fact is that if we're even here, it's evidence that we both really care. Even if the other person is defensive or is ready to fight with you, recognize it's because they feel attacked or hurt, and choose to understand them. Use as much passion in trying to understand them as you would want to be understood. And remember, the moment we feel we've understood someone is the moment we lose the ability to, because it's the moment we stop trying to. Another great tool I want to share with you to change your mindset on any conflict you're having in your life is by showing you the power of words. Now, Nav already talked to us about the impact of our words and different ways we're communicating, but I want to show you just how limiting some of the words you can use that you use all the time can be. So in your booklet, I want you to write down some is statements with me about a someone or a situation you're having difficulty with in your life. For example, my brother is lazy. My boss is horrible. My mom is so unfair. My job is boring. So I'll give you a minute to write 3 or 4 of those. Okay. So, how much room is there with a sentence like, my job is boring? It's a definitive sentence, and it leaves no room for possibilities. Now, next to the list you just created, I want you to write those same sentences, but instead of using is, I want you to use occurs to me as, or I'm experiencing this as. So instead of using is, I want you to rewrite those ones that you wrote. Okay. Do you see what's different? with that little change, it leaves you room to start seeing another alternative. It leaves room for you to see this other person or situation as something different. My job occurs to me as boring. How does it occur to other people? Has it always occurred to me like that? I'm experiencing my brother as lazy. It automatically brings into question, how is someone else experiencing him? Where else could he not be lazy? Now, I can start looking for examples for a completely different story than the one I had. I can start seeing a better picture and getting a better understanding. So those are some tools and ways that you can be intentional and conscious about transforming conflict and trying to understand people better. But what about our unconscious biases? How can we tackle something we aren't conscious about? Well, in order to solve anything, first we have to bring awareness to it. We first have to recognize that all of us have unconscious biases, and it will take intention and effort to see and unearth them. Who do we talk to in a room or at a party? Who doesn't get represented? Who do we believe and who do we not believe? How can we do this without getting defensive? A trick I like to use to notice my unconscious biases is noticing any time I find myself surprised. When I found out Chris Evans, or Captain America, loves tap dancing and musicals, I was surprised. I had an idea about masculinity and men who looked like him, and it didn't fit. When my friend in a wheelchair talked about how sexually active she was, I was surprised, and it pointed out a bias I had about disability and sexuality. When a young woman of color told me she wasn't a student, but the professor in the class, I was surprised. I had an idea of what a professor looked like, and it wasn't her. Being surprised is not a bad thing. It has nothing to do with morality. It is merely an opportunity to uncover a story or preconceived notion about that person or people that look like them. Humans love to categorize. It helps make sense of the world. But if we aren't choosing to see the wholeness and humanity of the people around us, we'll never be able to fully connect with them. When we meet someone new, we'll automatically make assumptions based on things we can easily see. We will notice all the things that are different. I encourage you to do something else and go beyond the differences you see and find commonality in their humanity. Ask questions about what they're studying, what's something they're passionate about, the last book they've read, a dream they hope to accomplish, something in the world they want to change. Look for the commonality without mentioning something you can visibly see. Do the work to try and authentically get to know them. Now, I want to share this clip from Verna Mayers, who really summarizes unconscious biases beautifully. Hopefully it works out. Yes. Thank you, Pelvi.
Not too long ago, I was on a plane, and I heard the voice of a woman pilot coming over the PA system, and I was just like so excited. I was so thrilled. I was like, yes, women, we are rocking it. We are now in the stratosphere, you know? It was all good, and then it started getting turbulent and bumpy, and I was like, I hope she can drive. It is not even like I knew that was a bias until I was coming back on the other leg, and there's always a guy driving, and it's often turbulent and bumpy, and I've never questioned the competence of the male driver. If you ask me explicitly, I would say, female pilot, awesome. But it appears that when things get funky and a little troublesome, a little risky, I lean on a bias that I didn't even know that I had. You know, fast-moving planes in the sky, I want a guy. That's my default. Men are my default. Who is your default? Who do you trust? I'm going to tell you what we have learned. The implicit association test, which measures unconscious bias. You can go online and take it. 5 million people have taken it. Turns out our default is white. We like white people. We prefer white. What do I mean by that? When people are shown images of black men and white men, we are more quickly able to associate that picture with a positive word, that white person with a positive word, than we are when we are trying to associate positive with a black face. And vice versa. When we see a black face, it's easier for us to connect black with negative than it is white with negative. Biases are the stories we make up about people before we know who they actually are. Walk toward your discomfort. And I'm not asking you to take any crazy risks. I'm saying just do an inventory. Expand your social and professional circles. Just like, who's in your circle? Who's missing? How many authentic relationships do you have with young black people, folks, men, women, or any other major difference from who you are and how you roll, so to speak? Go deeper, closer, further, and build the kinds of relationships, the kinds of friendships that actually cause you to see the holistic person and to really go against the stereotypes.
Awesome. All right, so what have we learned so far? Conflict is not about you and the other person. It is an opportunity to come together and understand each other. It is both of you against the problem. We also talked about being careful when using the word is, and pausing to identify what happened and what are the facts and what's the story we're making around it. I talked about never stopping trying to understand people in your life and notice when you're surprised at new information, dismantling those biases intentionally and noticing who's not in your circles, and make authentic relationships with people so you can see their humanity. So the last thing I want to leave you with is my favorite quote and the one in your program. It's by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Being a Muslim woman of color, I occupy many spaces that aren't made for me. I didn't leave feeling great a lot of the time. I was told I was in a tolerant society, and everyone around me was tolerant. But it doesn't feel good to be tolerated. I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be celebrated. In the last couple of years in my life, I have really learned the difference between being tolerated and being celebrated. Is night and day. The ability I have to show up and be my authentic self in spaces that celebrate me and leave me feeling so empowered. It's like the feeling of standing on solid ground where it's only been shaky before. How people feel around you makes a world of difference. So, how can we put this to practice? Sorry, is it? Yeah, it looks like we're back on. When someone hasn't come to a meeting in a while or hasn't replied to your messages, instead of being curt or saying something like, "Oh, now you decide to show up," or, "Oh, I thought you had died or something," celebrate that they're there instead. "It's been so long since I've seen you. I'm so happy to have you back. It's so good to hear from you. I've missed you." If someone tells you they can't come to something and you really wanted them there, don't try and guilt them into coming or manipulate them into being there. Respond that you know if they could have been there, they would have. Give people the most generous assumption. Give people the assumption you wish you were given. Applaud them for taking time for their family or their studies, or themselves, or whatever else reason it was that they couldn't come in the first place. When people feel cared for and understood, seen, and loved, they will keep coming back. They will be able to overcome their personal barriers, and you will be able to overcome any conflict that arises and really form a community. So who in your life could use some celebration? Thank you all for listening to me, and thank you so much to my Rotaract Club for always celebrating me and making me feel seen, understood, and loved. Thank you, and have a good night.